has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution. Giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place, right? We are proud of the fact that equity is one of our guiding principles.
This is communist.
Proud of the fact that we understand equality is important, but not everybody starts out on the same base. We see that people in our country are having an experience that is not equal.
I mean, that's literally from the Communist Manifesto. I mean, what she's talking about is the absolute opposite of what the Republic was intended to, what it was founded to do. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch with you. The bottom of the second hour. I mean, that is as communist as it gets. And she gets into, this is what I talk about, and I've been writing about this for over a decade, critical race theory. I've been writing pieces about this forever, and it got really the whole movement of critical race theory, which is part of Marxism, and it's part of Karl Marx's theory, really kicked off across college campuses back in the 60s. And so the idea of dividing people based on just different factors, like previously it was always through economic status, and Marxists would try to divide people based upon, you know, if they were born into money, if they made money, if they didn't have money, etc. And as more and more people realized the freedom through capitalism and what that affords, it became a lot harder for Marxists to try to use that as a tool of division. And it became a lot harder to mischaracterize capitalism when people could see it, you know, working, you know, in front of them. And so they also like to create little phrases like end stage capitalism to describe what happens when government gets involved. So it's not actually capitalism, but that's Marxist being dumb. But this new, again, this new theory making its way through college campuses throughout the 60s, critical race theory, of which DEI comes from. DEI is CRT in practice, critical race theory in practice. So critical race theory is all about that, the equity versus equality. And with equality, there is no discrimination. With equality, everyone has the same opportunities, and you're not punishing people for someone else's position being different from yours. You're not punished over things that you cannot control. And with equity, that's exactly, in order to have equity, you have to have widespread discrimination. You cannot have equity without discrimination. And she even mentions it without saying it in the beginning, that people didn't start out in the same positions. Therefore, you have to do something about it. And that's where she believes that's where the equalness comes in. By invoking discrimination and discriminating against people who, through no fault of their own or choice of their own, are in different circumstances than maybe other individuals. And that's equity. It's creating an uneven playing field and making it to where you have to discriminate against some and hold them back as a way to help someone else. So it's not equality. There's no equal opportunity. The opportunity is unequal by design in equity. And they want to guarantee outcomes, guarantee that everyone has the same outcome regardless of the choices that people make. So if you make bad choices in life, you have no accountability for those, because that would be unequitable. Or if your parents made bad choices in life, it would be unequitable to not harm someone else because their parents didn't, or because they come from an intact. I mean, it's just so stupid. You're using discriminatory practices against people for things that they can't control. And that's the Marxist division that's supplanting a lot of this class warfare as it relates to the economy. And I think that equity is for the weak. Equity is a Marxist theory for the weak. People who can't do for themselves demand that others do for them on the backs of yet still others. But this is one thing, especially when it comes to, how do they describe forgiveness, college loan forgiveness, and all of these other freebies. Republicans are going to have to really hone their messaging, because you know that they have a superior product, particularly with the economy and taxation. They have a superior product. They want to save people money, and they want to make sure parents are empowered to make decisions about their own children's lives and not strangers. I mean, that's, it's about as social as it gets. Democrats are promising people free things. So this is where it gets, they really have to press the pedal to the floor here and figure out their messaging on this. Because when you have one party that's promising free everything, that sounds really good to people right now who are struggling with their grocery bills, who are struggling with their car payments, struggling with their mortgage payments, struggling with their utilities. People who want immediate relief. Democrats are promising immediate relief, but it's at the sake of overall health, economically, trade-wise, everything. And that's the thing. Even if Democrats try to fulfill, which they never do, fulfill any of the promises that they've made, they're out there playing Santa, and it's really hard to run against Santa. I mean, no matter how, they're looking at providing immediate relief, and to hell with any long-term anything. Immediate relief for the sake of votes. They don't care how much it costs the taxpayer. They don't care what it's going to put the economy in. They don't care about any of that. The GOP has to outline how their policies help people for longer periods and can actually help quicken it. It's very hard to tell people, well, just suffer now and it's going to get better. That cannot be Republicans' messaging. That's what Democrats are framing it as. And she's going out there making speech after speech, promising all kinds of freebies. All kinds of freebies. I mean, she's talked about, what is it? I think more debt for quote-unquote forgiveness. She also, by the way, she praised defund the police. This is audio soundbite 20. Listen to this. This was a June 2020 radio interview. She really was on board with defund the police. Listen.
Where do you stand on defund the police?
Look, right. So here's the thing. Defund the police. The issue behind it is that we need to reimagine how we are creating safety. And when you have many cities that have 1/3 of their entire city budget focused on policing, we know that is not the smart way and the best way or the right way to achieve safety. If for too long, the status quo thinking has been you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong.
Why can't you use the word training? Like, why is that so unbelievably hard for you to say? Oh, maybe it's because you have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know. I mean, just wild. It's wild. No, she promises all kinds of stuff. And whether it's horrible taxation, whether it's horrible with trade, then when it gets into culture, it gets even crazier. And she was saying one thing and doing another with regards to Israel. She would not preside over the Senate yesterday as vice president, as president of the Senate. So she's trying to have it both ways. She doesn't want to make Dear Bornistan mad. She's trying to have it both ways. This is audio soundbite 6. And this is what she had to say about Netanyahu. Listen.
So I just had a frank and constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I told him that I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah.
Interesting that she was making these remarks and not Joe, right? So he's going to Camp David. He's going to be at Camp David now. So after he was in Delaware, flew to the White House for a day, And now he's flying to Camp David. I don't know how long he's going to be there. In the meantime, she's out there campaigning and playing president. Yeah. She also had this to say, audio soundbite 7. Check this out.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children and desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, or fourth time.
Now, why does Hamas do that to them?
We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent.
But why was she silent when Hamas attacked Israel, and then Hamas used its own people as shields, and Hamas blew up one of their own hospitals, and Hamas was using the rooftop of an elementary school to launch attacks, and Hamas was building terror tunnels underneath that hospital? Why was she silent all those times? Oh, that's right, because she didn't like Jewish people. I mean, I have no idea how else to interpret that. Why was she silent for all of that? Just saying. I mean, there's a lot of questions here. But she's out there playing president right now. Out there playing president. Just doing all she can.